We spend 3 days aboard Majestic Princess, sort of a mini cruise. So a mini cruise review is in order. Hello cruisers, and welcome to another CruiseReport cruise review, or in this case, a mini review of Princess Cruises Majestic Princess. So let's get the disclaimer out of the way right up front. Princess invited us on this cruise as a member of the travel press. They provided us with our airfare, ground transportation, and cruise accommodations. However, Princess Cruises is not sponsoring this video. No money exchanged hands, and Princess has no say in the content of this video. In fact, they won't know what we have to say until the video is released. As I mentioned in a previous video, we don't typically do 2 or 3 day press trips for a couple of reasons. First, 2 to 3 days is just simply not long enough to experience everything or even much of what these larger ships have to offer. So we can't do a thorough review, which is kind of our thing. The second reason is that press trips usually include special hosted cocktail parties and other events which we greatly enjoy and appreciate. But these are not experiences that you would have when sailing aboard these ships. And that's what we really are trying to cover on this channel. That said, we greatly appreciate Princess Cruises inviting us on this 3-day sailing. Now, I said we don't typically do 2 or 3 day cruises, but since the pandemic, these just are not typical times. That pandemic took a toll on the cruise industry and basically wiped out our business. Like the cruise lines, we're in the process of rebuilding. And you can help out by simply subscribing to our YouTube channel. It's completely free to subscribe, and if you click on that little bell icon, you can ask YouTube to notify you when we post new videos. If you're passionate about cruising, we would love to have you as part of our international community of cruise enthusiasts. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at CruiseReport. So let's talk about what's going on with Princess Cruises. You probably know that Princess has a British roots and it's still evident even today. You also probably know that Princess Cruises is one of the Carnival cruise brands. And of course, everyone knows that Princess Cruises was the featured cruise line in the popular 70s and 80s TV hit series The Love Boat. But most recently, Princess Cruises was in the news when the Diamond Princess was quarantined in Japan in February 2020 due to a COVID outbreak on board. Of the 2,666 guests on board, 567 became infected with the virus, and as many as 14 eventually died from the virus, or about 2%. But unfortunately, the brand received daily negative news coverage as images of guests being taken off the ship on gurneys to local hospitals. At the time, I felt the news coverage was unfairly blaming the cruise line for the spread of COVID-19. Remember, this was a cruise around Japan, so most of the passengers had to fly on a crowded aircraft for 12 to 17 hours before they ever boarded the ship. Yet, even to this day, nobody ever mentions the airlines in regards to the spread of COVID. And they continue to fly at capacity. The CDC issued a no-sail order, basically grounding all cruises out of the U.S. ports, unfairly singling out the cruise industry. Another topic for another video. So Princess is not just emerging from the pandemic shutdown, but they're also doing so with kind of a bloody nose from being the cruise line to get the most negative media. And after 3 short days on Majestic Princess, I'm pleased to report that Princess is definitely back. Cruise enthusiasts who are passionate Princess Cruise devotees should rejoice. As far as our personal history with Princess Cruises, Ricky and I enjoyed our very first Mediterranean cruise aboard Grand Princess back in 1998. We spent 14 days aboard Royal Princess in 2014 on a Baltic Scandinavian cruise, and in 2018 we spent 10 nights aboard Island Princess on a Panama Canal cruise. So we're pretty familiar with the brand. Majestic Princess is the third Royal class ship. At 144,000 tons, she can carry 3,560 guests and a crew of 1,346. However, on our sailing, there were only 1,100 guests. Majestic Princess is unique in that she was built with the Chinese market in mind. Initially, the plan was for the ship to sail from Shanghai year-round. But Majestic was brought to the USA for the 2021 Alaska season and is currently will be doing a series of Mexican Riviera cruises. Throughout the ship, you can see this Chinese influence with all the signs being in both English and Mandarin. There are also some other unique features to this ship. Otherwise, it's basically identical to the other Royal class ships. Now, some of the other changes you'll notice is that there's no sanctuary on deck 18 forward. That was kind of disappointing for us because the sanctuary was one of our favorite spots on Royal and Island Princess. Instead, there is the Hollywood Pool Club and the Hollywood Conservatory. Both are covered spaces completely protected from the elements. There's a large indoor pool here and a full-service bar. The conservatory has forward-facing views of the ocean. Interesting topiary trees in various shapes, and a collection of what I can only assume to be Asian-inspired musical instruments, sort of like xylophones, which guests can actually play. The space is very peaceful and serene. There is no Sabatini's Italian restaurant on Majestic Princess, but in its place on Deck 5, across from guest services, you'll find Harmony, a Chinese-themed specialty restaurant with a $29 per person cover charge. We dined at Harmony on our first evening and found the food to be good. I'd say about a 7 out of 10 for Chinese food. Another thing you won't find on Majestic Princess is the Lido Deck Pizzeria. That space is occupied by Chopstick's Noodle Bar with a selection of noodle soup dishes. We had lunch here on our last day and the wonton noodle soup was amazing. But don't worry, you can still get pizza at Alfredo's on Deck 6 midship. Otherwise, from what we can tell in our 3 days, the rest of the ship is virtually identical to the other Royal class ships. Perhaps the biggest news with Princess is that all their ships are now Medallion class ships. And it's difficult to describe how revolutionary Medallion class really is. Now, at first glance, it appears that they've just replaced the stateroom key card with this small medallion. Not sure if you can see that. Every guest is issued their own medallion unique to that cruise. And the medallion is used like the key card to embark and disembark the vessel, enter your stateroom, or pay for shipboard purchases. But unlike the key card, the medallion is actually a small GPS device that can track your movements throughout the ship. Now, this becomes a very sophisticated contact tracing technology should a COVID outbreak occur. The medical team on Princess ships can easily see which other guests have been in contact with an infected person and take measures to mitigate the situation. In extreme cases, they may be quarantined. There are some other cool features of the medallion and how it interacts with the Medallion class app on your smartphone. Like it or not, Princess has moved much of its guests' website functionality to the Medallion class app, which works on Android or iPhone. In fact, if you do not own a smartphone, I'm not really sure how you're going to sail with Princess. There are certain functions that can only be done through the app. For example, if you attempt to complete your guest information forms or add a payment method on your computer online through the website, you're directed to use the app. I was unable to view my account balance through the Stateroom television. Instead, I was directed to use the app. Now, I found this kind of interesting since Princess tends to serve an older demographic. That said, the technology is really cool for those who do have a smartphone. Honestly, I found the app to be a little overwhelming, even to a techie like me. It has so many features, I found myself fumbling through multiple menus to find what I was looking for. There are also large LCD screens throughout the ship that make it easy to find your way around the ship, or to see what's going on and where. I could do an entire video on the Medallion and Medallion class. But I think the bottom line question is whether or not people want to interact with more technology when they cruise, or do they want to disconnect from technology when on vacation? Do guests find the technology enhances the experience, or does it detract from the experience? I'd like your comments on this in the comment section down below. I personally know of a few people who would find Medallion class experience more of a negative, not a positive. The under 40 crowd will probably see it as a huge feature, while the older demographic may see it as one more thing they have to learn just to be on vacation. Only time will tell. Every Princess crew member has been fully vaccinated. On sailings from the U.S., every guest must be fully vaccinated and show proof of a negative COVID test within 2 days of embarkation. All crew members were wearing N95 masks, and on our cruise, guests were required to wear masks when in public spaces, indoors, unless they were eating or drinking. Hand sanitization stations were positioned at the entrance to virtually every venue on the ship. There are hand washing stations near the entrance to the ship's buffet. Buffet food is served by crew members. You never come into contact with serving utensils. And the crew members serving you are not only wearing masks, but also gloves. Princess is implementing some new testing requirements for cruises longer than 7 days. So if you're planning a longer cruise, you may wish to check their website for details. We dined each evening at one of the 3 specialty restaurants on board. I've already told you about Harmony, but we also had dinner one evening with our press group at Sur la Mer, a French bistro on Deck 7 midship. Honestly, the menu here is very French, not really our personal style, but even a couple of Texans were able to get by and find something to enjoy. If you love seafood, this is the place for you. I did order the lobster bisque, which was presented with this huge flaky puff pastry on top, and the broth was filled with lobster, mussels, salmon, and shrimp. I had a fillet of beef, which was very tender and perfectly cooked. Ricky had the duck breast, which was perfectly cooked, but unfortunately served to her cold. On our last night, we had dinner at Crown Grill, which is Princess's signature steakhouse. The experience was pretty similar to what we remembered on Royal Princess and Island Princess. My seared scallop appetizer was tasty, but the scallops were about half the size that I remember from my last visit to Crown. Ricky's beef tartare was a much better choice in my opinion. My grill salad was the only real disappointment. It was nothing special. It was like any side dinner salad you might get at Applebee's. I would like to see them add a nice Caesar salad to the menu at Crown Grill. However, my 16-ounce bone-in ribeye made up for any of the other shortcomings. Unquestionably, this was the best steak I've ever had at a Crown Grill. But the cream spinach and grilled asparagus sides, while both very good, their portions were very stingy. They certainly weren't large enough to share. All of the specialty restaurants on board come with a $29 per person cover charge, and we felt like they were a pretty good value. I did try a burger at the Burger and Lobster Grill, which offers burger, chicken sandwiches, and lobster rolls. The burger was about like I remembered from Island Princess, and honestly, nothing special. As I mentioned earlier, Chopstick's noodle bar gets a big thumbs up. We did get one opportunity to try out the World Fresh Marketplace, which is the ship's Lido buffet. We dined here right after embarkation, and less than half of the serving stations were active. I suspect that's because there were only 1,100 guests on the sailing. That's unfortunate because I really enjoyed the kebab station on Royal Princess and was disappointed to find it closed on this sailing. The few dishes we did try were pretty standard buffet fare. We did not have an opportunity to try out the chef's table, Alfredo's Pizzeria, main dining, afternoon tea, or room service on this sailing. There just wasn't enough time. The only entertainment we encountered was a duo playing violin and guitar in the atrium at various times throughout the evening, and they were both very good. We did sit in on the end of a comedy impressionist show in the theater one evening, and he was very good too, but we only caught the last 10 minutes of the act. The Lido deck features a very large pool with lots of sun loungers for those seeking to soak up sun. Unfortunately, there was not a lot of sun on our 3-day cruise. The ship also has lots of hot tubs. There's an indoor pool at the Hollywood Club Pool big enough to swim some laps. There's a full-size basketball tennis court on deck 18 aft, as well as a mini golf putting green. The laser shooting range was closed on our visit, so we did not get a chance to see it this time. We did take advantage of a couples massage, which was quite relaxing. There are activities going on all over the ship during the day. Since we were in port every day on this sailing, we did not experience a day at sea, which is where you really get to see the cruise staff in action around the ship. We did visit the casino one evening, found the slot machines to be pretty friendly, at least to Ricky. You'll find craps, blackjack, roulette, and slots at the casino. And there's also this VIP casino area, but I never saw it in action. And of course, parents are going to appreciate the kids' spaces on deck 17 aft. And the ship has the best table tennis setup we've seen on any ship so far, with nets surrounding the table so you don't end up chasing your ping pong ball down the deck. We were upgraded to a mini suite on this sailing. Thank you, Princess, for that. We have a separate video with a complete detailed walkthrough review of the mini suite on Majestic Princess, and I will put a link on the screen and in the description of this video, so make sure you check it out if you're interested. Our mini suite was A220 located on Aloha Deck 12 forward. We found the mini suite to be comfortable enough. Although the wall's pretty thin, you can hear when your neighbors have their TV on. The mini suite is 323 square feet, and that includes the balcony, which, by the way, is quite small. Again, I would direct you to our mini suite review video for complete details on what we liked about the mini suite and what we didn't like. Our 3-day cruise visited San Diego and Ensenada. We did not even disembark the ship in Ensenada. Otherwise, we would not have been able to cover any of the ship's facilities. So I can't tell you much about Ensenada, but neither Ensenada or San Diego are on the Mexican Riviera cruises, so it really makes no sense to report on them anyway. Majestic Princess is a beautiful ship, like all Princess ships. All you have to do is take one look at that atrium and it just sort of takes your breath away. There are 3 banks of elevators and stairs, forward, midship, and aft, and a total of 14 elevators. Now, we found the elevators to be reasonably fast and efficient. However, because of Princess's stateroom naming convention, it can get a little confusing. For example, our stateroom was A220. The A stands for Aloha Deck, but the elevators do not show the names of the decks, only the numbers. So when I board the ship, I don't know where to find Aloha Deck when I step into an elevator. You have to know that Aloha Deck is actually Deck 12. The most outstanding feature of our 3 days on Majestic Princess, and the one that made the biggest impression, was the attitude and the service of the crew. Everyone was extremely happy. They were smiling and willing to go out of their way to accommodate the guests. From the minute you step on board a Princess ship, you're going to feel welcome and cared for. The service in every venue was exceptional, without a single misstep. I suspect this is what keeps people coming back to Princess time and time again, more than any other thing the ships have to offer. We're very happy to see Princess sailing again and cannot wait to spend more time on one of their ships in the future. We really want to dive into this Medallion class thing because it is quite revolutionary. So if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. If you've sailed on Majestic Princess, please let us know your thoughts in the comment section. I read all of your comments. Thank you for joining me today, and as always, we wish you smooth sailing.